Hello, my name is Jimmy Vegas and welcome to this, the ninth in a series of video tutorials on how to create a mobile game in Unity 5. So this episode we're going to be working with various different scenes in our game, which will have various different objectives. So we'll be creating a main menu and a recycling scene. It's quite a bit to get through in this episode and I don't want it to run on for too long, so we're going to get straight into it and I'll explain as we go along. So, firstly, if you remember, we have this main scene just here, which is represented by this main flight scene.unity file. So we need to create a new one of those. So File, New. Now, as you can see, this scene now looks like exactly how our original scene did when we first created the project. So this is a clean scene now, and we can work with this. We're going to make this our main menu. Now, there are a few different ways that you can create a main menu. You can create a simple plain main menu using purely GUI, or you can create an animated menu. Now, to keep things nice and simple in this episode, I'm just going to make a plain menu. However, as we go further on into this series and we get to the episodes where we refine our game, I may change it to a nice sort of animated scene. So let's get our basics set up first. Game object, UI, and raw image. So we've worked with a little bit of GUI before in our other scene. And you can see here we have our raw image, a big white dot. What I want to do is put that dead center and create it black. So we have just a plain black scene to put everything else on. So over here in color, let's change that to black. Let's set our position as 0, 0. And then let's change our anchor point to stretch, which is down here. And once again, let's change our left to 0 and our top to 0. And hopefully we should be able to see if we change our right to 0 and bottom to 0, it now covers the entirety of our canvas. So if we press play, we are presented with, plain and simple, just a black screen. So on top of this, we're going to overlay everything we need. So let's start with the title of the game. So UI again, and let's go text. Now, if you recall me telling you in a couple of tutorials ago, this game is kind of like how I made a little game called Keep Flying. So I'm just going to call it Keep Flying. Now, that game was something I made pretty quickly. It wasn't something I cared too much about making because I only made that game for the purposes of showing you the end result of where this tutorial will be. So yeah, keep flying. I'm going to change the color to, I'll change it to a blue kind of color. Let's have a bold. Let's have it font size, I don't know, 24. Let's have it center and let's anchor it at the top, like so. So now just zero out the position. And now I can move it into place. So about there. Font seems a little bit small, so let's make that a little bigger. In fact, let's have that as 50, let's say. May need to change the size and the width and the height there. So you can select this tool here and stretch the box. So there we go. And let's move it back into the center. So now when press play, real simple, just the text and the name of the game. It works the same way as how we've done the score in our other scene. So next thing we're going to need to do is, usually on the main menu, you have a couple of buttons. We have, for example, play game and quit game. So let's insert some buttons now. So we need to go to game object, UI, and let's go to button. Now, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you two different ways of creating buttons within a game. This is the first way now, and the second way is done purely via code. So let's right click and rename this button to play game. I'm going to right click and rename our text that we created to just game title. And I'm not going to bother changing raw image. You can change it if you want to, but I'm just leaving it as raw image for now. So on our button, click the little arrow, go to text, and let's change our text of this particular button to play game. So let's press play on our scene and have a quick look. And that looks fine. Click it, does nothing, but we'll change that in a moment. So you can go ahead and customize your button however you want. You can change your font if you want to. At the moment, we only have Arial imported because we've not worked with fonts yet in this project. We will be doing in a couple of tutorials time. You can change the color of, sorry, I should go on the button, shouldn't I? Yeah, you can change the color of the button here. So you can have it as, I don't know, maybe a bit of a red or blue color. Let's stick with blue. So yeah, we'll go with that. Change the color like that. So when you hover over it, it changes color to the white color. You can, like I say, you can go ahead and fiddle around with these colors. There's nothing too drastic that you can break or ruin doing this. I'm just going to move it into the middle a bit to there, just to kind of align everything up. Place it where you want. It doesn't make too much of a difference. What I'm going to do now is Control D to duplicate that button. Right click, rename, and call it Quit Game. And I'm just going to drag it below to about there. Rename, yep, we've renamed it Quit Game. So let's go to our text and let's change it from Play Game to Quit Game. And press play. How's it look? Looks fine. So you hover over, you can choose. Okay, so next thing we need to do is we need to make these buttons work correctly. So let's go to our scripts folder, right click, create, JavaScript, and let's call this main menu. So within this script, what we're going to do is we're going to create two functions which we are going to customize. We're not going to be start, not going to be update. We're going to create our own name, and we're going to keep it real simple. We're going to keep it as play game and quit game. So once you've got it open in on Develop or Visual Studio, whichever, makes no difference, delete all the lines of code it's already given you. We don't need to set any variables at this point because it's very, very simple. So the first function, we're going to have play game. Oops, not play fame, play game. Open close bracket, open curly bracket. Now the line of code we need to use here is the line which tells us to open the particular scene which we have set as our main game. So we're going to do application dot I think it's load level, and I'm going to put open close bracket. We will be changing that in just a minute with a semicolon and then close curly bracket. The next function is going to be quit game, open close bracket, open curly bracket, and here we need to make a function which will just close the application. So we can just do application dot quit, semicolon, and close curly bracket, and save your script. So here in our play game function, we need to set a number here which represents our main scene. So first thing you'll need to do is make sure you are on our main menu screen. Go to File, go to Build Settings. Now you should remember this one from when we changed it from PC, Mac and Linux standalone to Android in the very first episode, I think it was. So I'm not sure if we already added that there, but either way, what we need to do is click on Add Open Scenes. In fact, no we don't. We need to save the scene first. It would help. So, File, Save Scene. Let's call it Main Menu. And then let's go to File, Build Settings, and add Open Scenes. So I want to change them around a little bit so you can drag and drop. If you've already got scenes in here, you can just drag and drop like so. Make sure your main menu.unity is screen 0 and your main flight scene is screen 1. So when we go back to our script, we've got application.loadLevel. Let's put that as a number 1 because then that references scene number 1, which is the main scene. So then save. So to try this out and make sure it works, okay, so it's saying it doesn't like something there. Oh, great, a fatal error has occurred. I don't know. Computers, eh? Who'd have one? Okay, so let's go back. Let's double check our error there and see what it doesn't like. So it doesn't like application.quit for whatever reason. So I'm just going to blank that out for now because it's not essential at this point. And there we go. Okay, so that's cleared that for now. So let's make sure that our play game button works. So make sure you click on play game. In fact, I just realized what it is. Sorry, brainwave. We need to put open close bracket at the end of quit. Sorry, my brain's not working so well today. So that should actually fix our error. So on the play game button, what you need to do is go down and it's got on click, list is empty. You should have that displaying as that. Click on the plus and you'll have a couple of little options there. You've got here non-object. So we need to create a game object which contains this script that we've written. So game object, create empty. Let's right click and rename and call it menu scripts. And then drag and drop our main menu script onto there. Head back to your play game, scroll down, and here drag and drop menu scripts. And then hopefully this little selection list here will start working. It'll say no function. You can see you've got a couple of options when you click it. What you need to do is go to main menu. This references our script. As this button we're on is play game, we need to invoke the function called play game. So click on that. And on quit game, you do the exact same. Click on the plus, drag and drop menu scripts over here. Click on no function, click on main menu, and we need to invoke quit game. So let's press play. So now, as you can see, our buttons are still there, scripts have loaded, all good. If we click on quit game while we're in the Unity engine itself, nothing will actually happen because it can't quit this application because technically speaking, it's not the application that's running, it's the game engine. But if we click on play game, it should load the game. Now, one thing to point out, if you've noticed just there, all the light looked as though it had disappeared. It wasn't correct. It is a bug in Unity itself. It's nothing to do with how you've made the game. It's nothing to do with me, you, whatever. It's just Unity itself. When you load up a new scene from a previous scene, the light never seems to load properly. That bug has been there for as long as I can remember. I don't think they've ever fixed it. They probably have no intention of ever fixing it. But it's worth noting that when you build the game itself, that error, that bug doesn't happen. I will reference that bug later on in this tutorial series, and I'll show you to prove to you that it's not an issue when you build your game. Okay, so now we have our main menu working. What we need to do is we need to create another scene, which is going to be our recycle scene, which reloads our main flying scene. And we need to create a little bit more GUI with a different style buttons on our main scene. So, File, New Scene. Oh, let's make sure we save our scene. And what I'm going to do again is game object, UI, raw image. I'm going to do the exact same as last time. I'm going to anchor it as a stretch. I'm going to zero everything out, and I'm going to make it pure black. Game object, create empty. Now we want this game object to contain a script which will instantly reload our main game. You'll see the reasons why in just a second. So right click, rename, let's call it main script. And let's quickly write a script which is almost identical to main menu. So right click, create JavaScript. And let's call this recycle. Open it up in MonoDevelop. And it's going to be a start function. So let's delete everything we don't need apart from function start. And we'll use the exact same line of code here, application.loadLevel1. So application.load level, open bracket, 1, close bracket, semicolon, and save. So then we just drag and drop this recycle script onto our main script object just there. So technically what will happen now is when we load this scene, it will instantly load up our main scene. So let's press play. And there we go. So the idea of why we've created a recycle scene is we need to unload our main scene after we've crashed, so everything resets in that scene. So let's sort that out now. Let's save our recycle scene, Control S, recycle, and file, build settings, add open scenes. So now this recycle scene is number 2. So let's double check we've saved that and head back into main flight scene. So what we're going to do now is, as I said, I was going to show you 2 different ways of creating buttons within Unity script itself. One, like I said, one is the scripting, one is creating the buttons manually via GUI, the UI menu, I should say. So we're going to create a script now which will display, along with our game over, some retry buttons or quit buttons. So right click in your scripts, create JavaScript. And the third script we're going to have this time, let's call it something simple. Let's call it fly or quit. Open it up in MonoDevelop or Visual Studio. So delete everything you've got. Now this script is going to be hopefully not too complicated, but it might get a little bit extensive because we need to define in our script where these buttons are going to appear. And we're going to use function on GUI. Open close bracket, open curly bracket. So we need to write this now. Now I already have this written down because I know the perfect place of where I want the buttons to appear. I'll let you know at what point you can change the numbers and figures to make your buttons appear in different places on the screen. So if, open bracket, GUI dot button, open bracket, rect, which is short for rectangle, open bracket, screen dot width. So now what it's doing is representing a number, which is the entire width of the screen, which is being displayed on. Divide that by 2, so it creates half, minus 120. So what that's doing is it's working out where the middle of the screen is, and it's placing it just to the left of the middle by 120 pixels in this case. Comma, screen dot height. Now, what's the best way of doing this? think let's try minus 50. Let's see what we get with this. Comma 130, close bracket, comma, and then I'm going to put in quotes here what I want the button to say. So it's going to be fly again, close quote there, and close two brackets, open curly bracket. Now the line of code we want to execute here relates to that recycle scene that we created. So we need to load up that recycle scene. So application dot load level, open bracket, number 2, close bracket, semicolon, and close curly bracket. And I'm going to go down just a couple of lines and close the curly bracket again and save. So I'm going back to Unity. On our canvas, you can see we've got death black, death text. What I'm going to do underneath here is death black. I'm going to right click, create empty in there, and I'm going to drag and drop the fly or quit script. So this game object becomes active when our death black becomes active, which becomes active when we crash. So I want to right click, rename. I'm going to call it fly or quit. Let's play and see what happens. So I'm going to crash, and you can see we've got fly again appearing right down here. So if we click it, it will load up the recycle scene and instantly reload our main scene. There we go. So that's how that button works. So now we need to create another button which says to us, no, quit to main menu. So we can effectively copy and paste this code that we've already written, and we can quite simply change a couple of things here to, for example, instead of fly again, we've got main menu, and instead of load level 2, we need to put load level 0, because as you remember, 0 is our main menu. Now, a few things we need to change here. We've got screen width divided by 2 minus 120. I'm now going to change that to, let's have it as just divided by 2. I'll keep the screen height minus 50 the same, and I'll keep the size of the text box the same, 100 by 30. Let's save that. Give Unity a second just to think about it, which is fine. And then press play. So let's instantly crash. And you can see we now have fly again, main menu. Let's click main menu. It brings us back to the main menu as you would expect. So we can play game. Let's crash, and you can see we've got our buttons again. Okay, so quick few things before we end this tutorial. The buttons itself, it's these figures here which determine where the button is on the screen, and it's these figures here which determine how big the boxes are. So for reference, let's change this to 200 and 200. So this will make our buttons appear longer. Let's have a quick look. There we go. As you can see, they've appeared much longer. So obviously, the 30 means they get taller or thinner or fatter, whichever you want. So, for example, if we want our buttons to appear in the middle of the screen, what you can do is screen width divided by 2, and then screen height also divided by 2, minus 50, for example. And then let's do screen height divided by 2. Let's have plus 50. Save. and play. And they should appear sort of in the middle-ish now. Bit all over the place, but you get the idea. You can move them around. So it's entirely up to you how you want them to appear. So let's make them appear kind of in the middle of the screen on top of each other. So we can get rid of that 120 and then press play. So rather than being side by side, they should be on top of each other now. Yeah, like so. So it's a case of fiddling around with these numbers and figuring out where you want them to be. If you want to change how you create these particular, there we go, that should do. Okay. So if you want to change how you create these rather than do it by script, you can do it the same way as main menu. It's whichever you feel most comfortable with. I've shown you these two different ways, so as you know, best way to do it for yourself, whichever way you want to do it. Okay, so we'll leave this tutorial there for now. It's gone on quite a while. Didn't expect it to go on for so long, but that doesn't matter too much. Next episode, we will certainly look at putting in a noise for our crash. And we'll also be creating a save score. So where I want to go from there after that is building up our sections, because we're getting to the point now where we're getting sick of seeing just this tiny little section. So we need to create a section and make it appear decently. So what I might do before we go is our background. I'm actually going to change the size of this now. I'm going to change the scale to 100 by, let's say, 30 and see how that looks. Okay, so it's starting to look better now. So once we've got past the next episode, that's when we're going to start really pushing the random generation later on. And the way we're going to do that is quite simple, but it can literally go on forever and ever and ever if you have the skill. So until the next episode, thank you very much for watching.